terms of a broader, communication form.
Well, we've traditionally done a newsletter a couple times a year, so maybe that's something that would fit in well with the
It's a nice jumping off point for sure. Yeah.
I don't know if we voted on
some
arbitration
small items.
We hadn't had a newsletter for over a year.
or a case.
whatever. We're supposed to.
Well,
Yeah.
Barney, if hit me up about this ain't something that you.
He has enough plenty of time to do that, so just keep him with that.
Well, I have the motivation to do it.
Well, the office used to do it, Cheryl used to do it,
Because
and
I've
Elaine
been
did.
told that we know.
Well, you were fired before it came due.
Don't bring it up, please. Let's not go there.
Place and I don't really
Barney, how do we know that homeowners are renters, are renting? How do we know?
You know, the truth is, right now, it's really just kind of,
Informal?
it's informal, there's no formal process.
Would it be based on the billing address? I mean, we'd be guessing, obviously, but if the billing address is not at Remington Post for them receiving the.
Yeah, I mean, and
Well,
that's
let
how
me
we,
ask you this,
I mean, we
because
just
there is a
infer.
legal issue
Right,
about,
you'd have
what's the name of the loans?
FHA.
FHA loans.
Oh, well,
They
we're
somewhere
55%.
get, they
No, we
somewhere
have a
get a number.
percentage. No, we have that. We're at
Right,
Where do
55%.
they, where do you do
That's when we
that?
get titles, we
Where do you
compare
get-
the title to who's living there.
So there was a point made.
Mm.
Would you like to make that again?
Which is I could easily move out and not necessarily declare
Happens all the
anything.
time.
Yeah.
And we have landlords that have not licensed their units, there's no
Yeah.
question about that.
So
We have
that's-
illegal rentals going on.
Point that was made. We
So
don't know.
the FHA thing, these percentages that we've been hearing from real estate agents is a guess. And it's based on.
No,
we take what they do. Yeah,
Cheryl,
sure.
Cheryl, we have a list, and when they sell the unit, you can go through the QuickBooks and it shows who the owner is and if it's a rental. Because when people fill out the new information form, they say they're a tenant or not, and then there's a checklist, and then you compare. That's how you get the percentage, because you know who is a homeowner. It's
But if someone
you just have to
misrepresented
go through everything.
Yeah, they're
and
still
like-
gonna fall through the cracks.
And the thing
Just
with
as there
It's
are
2 to 3%
people
at
renting
least, so could,
Just a
you
small
can have, it's like a polling,
Okay.
variance, you're gonna have the same
one or
variance.
two units. I mean, we do know. It might be sort of word of mouth knowledge, but we do know. And that's been kept current to my knowledge the whole time we've been here. We can produce a number that's very accurate, 1 or 2 apartments off, say.
And some people, if it's, the homeowner, but their daughter's living there,
Right, there's
we
definitely,
still consider that an owner occupied.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So just to try to keep it,
Yeah, we've had
up a little bit higher.
So are you saying that we could qualify for FHA? Is that what
I
you're
think
saying?
it's
No, we
55%
It's
renter,
very close,
What
but
is it
we
now?
don't.
not
I think we need at least
55,
'Cause we
50%.
really need to-
Majority.
Yeah, it needs to be at least 50%.
actually.
It will
50,
start
50,
when
I think 50% plus 1 maybe, but
Right.
something like that.
the
And I
real
bought
estate.
it was 68% older.
I know.
So
Maybe-
it's
maybe-
been a
maybe we can push that.
Guys, I think we need
Let's
to
be-
get back
let's do
to our
it.
agenda.
FHA's changed.
Is that all right?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
President's report?
So I only have 2 things to tell
Oh,
you.
wait, we got-
One I've already told you, which is that the siding contract is that close to being signed, and I just need to look at it and meet with
Tony,
Tony, and it can't be tomorrow. It could be Monday after 4 or Tuesday anytime. So we need to get
Okay.
that done.
and it'll be decided.
At the time, Judy, I'll ask when they come in, will they, what can they do to deal with drainage problems? My suspicion is that the siding, as a part of the building, doesn't offer them, they're not engaging with the parts of the structure that would affect how the building drains. But I'll ask.
Well, drainage is one thing.
Yeah.
The other one that is involved with what they're doing
Yeah.
is the balcony configuration. Do you know?
Where the railing would go, it's complete and total instead of having a
Exactly.
hole on
And
the
if they
bottom.
side it, as they did on your building,
Right.
in the old way, it was my understanding that engineers said they all were supposed to be open at the bottom.
Mhm.
So if they're supposed to be, I don't know that it's
Yeah.
required.
Judy,
Right.
can I just tell
Yeah.
you that those decks were just painted, and the ones that have been redone, that's when it goes up. But the decks on his one building that haven't been done, they were just painted with the existing
Right,
siding.
they weren't
didn't
sided.
replace the
Okay.
board.
So that's what
That's what happened.
was.
And then when the decks are
Because the
redone, then
decks
they're
are not
re-sided.
being re-sided,
Yeah, so when the
they're only
decks,
being
they'll
painted.
replace the wood,
So-
they open up the gap, and then they put
Okay, well
a
that,
new thing on
Not all
top.
decks are done to prep for the siding,
No.
unless they're just shot or something.
okay.
And
Well,
I
that's
know
just
the
my
Does
question.
siding-
that help?
the
Yeah.
siding
So it
people
is-
don't
it's
do
just
the decks.
painted.
That's right, they do not do the
No.
decks. But the decks are painted
So
to
that's
match
one
the new
thing.
siding.
Okay.
The other thing, what is the other thing? Oh, yes. We have extended, because several of the property management companies that we requested bids from asked for more time. And we offered them more time up to the 23rd, 23rd to 24th, which is the out date for getting bids back from them. Of the 8 or 9 companies that we approached, 2 have declined to bid, but the others are actively approaching us and asking questions and.
I have a meeting, long
right.
meeting,
Yeah.
showing a lot of stuff tomorrow.
Right, so, that process is underway, and I wanted to, I'm hoping, I don't know whether we need a vote on this, but because we decided to have this meeting on the 15th, and because it was very unlikely we were gonna have the bids and had a chance to look at them, even if we had them all on about the 15th, we need a process for settling on the short list of the companies that we're going to dig into more thoroughly, call references, talk to homeowners, talk to board members at HOAs managed by these companies. And if the board wants to leave the decision about who's going to be on the short list to the subcommittee is happy to take that responsibility.
As long as they're comparing apples to apples, of like what we're doing now, what we're getting now, what's done in-house, are they willing to do that?
All the models were designed to make sure that we would be making apples to apples comparisons. And in fact, the 2 companies that declined to bid didn't want to deal with it.
I'm fine with
And that was actually mainly because neither of those companies is big enough to deal with us anyway. I've established
One of
that on
them
the
Hudson
basis.
by any chance?
Huh?
Hudson by any chance?
That's not Hudson, but Hudson's not very big, and I haven't heard
Right.
from Hudson,
It's
and it
small.
wouldn't shock me if they don't end up bidding.
I just
haven't
wanted to
heard
say
it,
that
no
it's
thanks.
fine with me if the subcommittee comes up with a short list. I think that kind of what a subcommittee should do.
Okay, so we'll
And
do
I'll
that,
reiterate that
and
I
we'll
can make some
report to
calls.
everybody about the short list, because as I said at the last meeting, I want to.
Who's all on the subcommittee?
They're all up there on the board.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, I'm on there,
That's
maybe.
November.
Actually, some of that got raised.
24, basically.
I think I'm on there now as well.
Subcommittee is gonna meet
I'm also
on the
on there.
26th.
And.
We settle on a date.
Pick a
And
date.
Any applesauce, sugar, molasses?
It's gonna be a couple, I thought sometime in a couple of days, that was what initially, I sent out an email with some dates.
I didn't see, I don't think I saw that email.
All right, I'll forward it back to you.
Nassim.
But I mean, we'll find a date, we just need a
She set a
date,
time?
maybe 2 or 3
She's
days
not here.
after
She
the
mentioned she
24th,
wouldn't be.
So who is on
because
that?
we'll need time to look at them.
Me.
You know, everybody ought to have a chance to look at them, I gotta get them distributed, and then everybody think about them, and then we get together and talk about them, so.
Excuse me.
If there's a
Cheryl,
decision
you?
to leave it up to the subcommittee, should there be a vote on that decision?
Well, it's just
Maybe a
to
motion.
get it down, right?
Yeah, we're only,
To reduce
it's only
the
to get
bids.
the short
The
list, it's
whole
not to
board
make a
will
decision
vote.
about who.
I mean, I think it's a great decision, I just think that there ought to be a
I
vote.
don't
We need to
think
make a
so.
motion.
On the short
Well,
list.
I don't think so.
Well, if it's in the
And you
current
guys who've been on the
business.
board, is this the sort of thing that we need a vote on?
No, they can do it.
I mean,
So
I-
opening to do
No.
it when we have the.
Let me just get a voice vote right now. How many on the board are happy with this decision to have the subcommittee
Voice vote?
come up with the short list?
I
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Good. So let's, so it's gonna be a lot of work from that moment on. We have the short list. Some people have been proactive and actually been trying to get started calling boards, but I have been,
My understanding
Because
is
we've
I was
discussed
doing
it
stuff
sort of
like this is that
informally.
when it's put on the table for the committee to consider, if you want to then
We're
take
not
it back later in
deciding.
committee and.
It's sort of a
Deciding.
route.
Need to get the gavel out.
Much the
Yeah,
same
right.
It's just a recommendation.
No, you guys are
Alright, let's
doing
keep
that.
going.
okay,
Yeah,
so,
We can certainly make that official
Procedural
if you
questions
have
aside.
that concern.
I'm gonna be calling on
Already
board
almost
members
decided to.
very soon
So-
to start, because some companies are clearly gonna be in. And I'd like to get ahead, some subcommittee members have suggested trying to get ahead. I think it was you, Jen, who suggested we get ahead, of starting to call some of these, the board members of HOAs that are currently managed by these companies. We have several big ones that are managing only other HOAs comparable to ours. I was on the phone for an hour with a couple of them this afternoon, and so I am gonna send out an email requesting help with these telephone interviews, and I hope you guys will have, I realize it's very unlikely to elicit a response until after Thanksgiving, but let's at least hope that by then you could start.
I've had several people ask me if we're going to get a sense of the homeowner's response to outsourcing our work here. And I've told them there wasn't time. Have we thought about reaching out to see what the community as a whole thinks or not? Do we have time to do that? Is there a way to do that? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
alright.
Yeah, no, there is a way to do
It's
it.
less a question of time, but more how, right?
Alright, I just
Done
wanted
it
to say,
before.
it's like, when we make large decisions with the campus, and this would have to fall into
Right.
that,
Yes.
or any project, if you pull back from our organization, there is always this option that when you look into, we're gonna make a huge change, or we're considering making a huge change, that always that last option is we are not going to change our current model. That's always true in any good project assessment, no matter what it is that when you're gonna try to bite the big apple, it's like if you decide to change and you're set on that, you haven't really allowed yourself the full opportunity to examine your options properly. And so I think we can get a lot of owner feedback, such as we've heard some tonight and we've heard some the other way, certainly in this process, but I at least am going to strongly consider that these places are gonna have to beat out our current model.
Oh, yeah.
And let me add, because this is relevant to the question, it's not settled yet, either whether we're gonna do it, but let's suppose that we get some very nice numbers. I think you're going to see some proposals that you're going to be impressed by, even if you're leaning against the idea. All of the people that I've talked to, which is 3 of the 6 that are still bidding, about this issue, seem sanguine with the thought that we might not actually institute this, even if we decide to do it until February. That we might, even though the ideal thing would be to turn it over at the fiscal year, all of them say, oh, it's not that big a deal, although we will have to revise your budget. And we'll do that and present it to you if we come in. There's gonna be a transition period no matter what, and it may be that we're gonna postpone the decision till January, and if we do, if it seems very contentious at the board level at that point, then I think we might, reconsider this and maybe go with a quick poll. If the board seems divided and we want a sense of the Congress, then we've done this before. We did a whole complicated, polling thing some years ago, and there are ways to do it that would be relatively efficient, and it would be one of those kind of self-selecting things where we might even do it in such a way that we send out a letter and say, we have an online survey.
Well, that'd be a good
You
idea.
have
We
to
could
fill
use
out
survey
this
money.
survey within this, the 196 hours between, date M and date N plus 10. And
I'm just bringing it up because several people have asked me, and I've been saying, no, the board's going to make that decision. But if we don't actually have to decide something by December 15th,
right,
then I think we should
I
hear
think
what the
I
community
think that's,
thinks.
this, I like
Yeah.
my own idea, I like my own idea. You know, an online survey